It's time for Critically Sensitive with Val Ball and Nate French.
Welcome! Good evening to our critically sensitive reality that is critical about sensitive subjects.
It's all true.
I'm your hostess with the mostest, Val Ball, which rhymes with foul ball because sometimes I'm out of line. And this is my committed to contentment hetero mate.
Hetero Nate. Yeah, it's easy and it rhymes.
With Valentine's Day coming up, remember to keep the Val in Valentine's Day because you can count on somebody to love you no matter what. And tonight, we want to talk about our love. Well, lots of different loves, but especially of audio and love of each other and all of you out there in listener land, viewer land, wherever you are. How many of you would choose a label?
Let me put my heart on.
Get a heart on, honey. Get your heart on, folks.
Put my heart on.
What would you get your heart on for? How many of you would choose a label as an audiophile or a lover of music?
I like music.
Get a heart on if you're an audiophile.
You gotta get your heart on.
You gotta get your heart on as an audiophile.
Get your heart on, everybody. Just stop putting it off.
Like, what audiophiles do you love? I personally stuck with MP3 as long as I could.
MP3. Yeah, well, I tried FLAC for a while when I discovered it because it is lossless audio, and you're all like, "Ooh, I want lossless audio," but
I don't even know what that means. Never heard
so
of that.
basically, if you ever knew anyone who had like a reel-to-reel recorder that was like super serious about recording audio and like keeping it forever, they would put it on these giant like Sony master reels.
Okay.
That are very expensive. It's almost like
theater reels kind of thing?
Yeah, what it looks like, but smaller.
Okay.
And it's just high-end audio equipment that records it at a super high level.
And that's called FLAC?
FLAC is similar in the sense that it does not compress the audio. So what you're dealing with when you're dealing with MP3 is a compression ratio. And it just... the reason MP3 gets a bad rap is because it compresses the audio a lot, and it can make the bass over exaggerated, and the cymbals sound like, like real like.
No wonder I loved it so much. No wonder I loved the MP3s so much. My music was so bass heavy.
It was good for bass, but it would kind of ruin the tones, and it made everything kind of muddy. But
I mean, you can't hear it over a diesel engine. I mean, when you're in a bus, you should have the bass.
I mean, the only difference between that, honestly, it's not that far of a walk to what is considered CD audio, which is actually not even FLAC level quality audio. So when you're getting the CD audio off of, which was pre-digital, the best thing you could kind of get. Most people were probably rocking a CD for a good long while. That's not even in the highest compression ratio. So, or I'm sorry, it's like, I'm kind of saying that like it would be a higher compression in the sense of like lower is what I was trying to say, but I said that funny. But yeah, it's just one of those things.
What's your first audio memory, Nate? What was your first audio? Like,
there's so many things that I remember like really liking sound a lot. In a general way, I like to make noises. And so I always was really into noises, and I was always aware of noises, and I tried to mimic sounds that I liked. But I think as far as music goes, I had the Scooby-Doo record player, which I'm sure some of us had, and I could play like 45s and stuff on it, and I would all this old great music. My mom and dad really were into music when I was growing up, and we used to listen to music on Saturdays. And so I would always go into my room and listen to music on my own, and I would just take something with me, and just random music. But the first memory I probably have of liking music that I knew what it was Bob Dylan. And I had crazy giant afro hair, and like I'd put on my Bob Dylan sunglasses, and I'd get my toy harmonica, and I would sit inside of the dust cover that we used to sit on top of the record player, as it was like broken and you could take it off.
Yeah.
And I would take it off and sit in it and just rock around and like super get excited about Bob Dylan. And I just remember loving Bob Dylan, and to this day, just one of the things that I always listen to. I don't go very long without listening to Bob, and it's kind of one of those things that I've always really enjoyed. Even some of the really country sounding songs, I can still find a way to enjoy it because it's Bob Dylan. I feel the same way about Johnny Cash. No matter how much country music Johnny Cash made, I always loved Johnny Cash. So,
Johnny Cash is a winner. Cash money, baby.
Yeah,
Cash money. So I remember my grandparents having an 8-track in their basement, and we used to listen to Neil Diamond and Barry Manilow on the 8-tracks in Grandma and Grandpa's basement.
It's a tough one to admit, but I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, I mean, I so I wonder if I broke my kid by playing like Rage Against the Machine directly to my belly or Radiohead. I'm not sure. I definitely know he's not normal, but that was the goal. And I think that all the music has, I remember having lullabies from the rock and roll folks for him. And, like,
I loved the 8-track. We had a basement experience with 8-track where my buddy had a hi-fi stereo system that his parents owned. Obviously, it wasn't his, but we would go down and listen to Wipeout, and I loved Wipeout, like that song, Wipeout. We just listened to it on repeat, but you couldn't, for a long time, you could not rewind an 8-track. You could only fast forward. And they didn't have the fancy ones that knew where the tracks started and ended. So you just have to like fast forward and guess where your track was.
Yes.
And we got progressively better at just kind of stopping right on Wipeout. And we had some sort of precision after a while, but it very much like was not only a challenge and fun in its own right, trying to get that to work.
Yeah.
But that song was just such a nice reward after we'd sit there and screw around. You have to wait for it for like 10, 15 minutes to come around. And you're like, okay, great. We get to listen to it for like 3 minutes. And then we get to sit here again. Try to find that song. Yeah. And if you missed it, you had to go around again. I mean, it was just.
I totally remember my first looping Walkman. I remember my first Walkman, like having a Walkman was incredible. Like to be able to like travel around with your music on headphones with your tapes was magical, right? Like it was like the iPod of the last century. Yeah. And then I remember when I first got it, the first tape I listened to on a loop on a family vacation to North Carolina. I'm originally from Kansas. We used to go to North Carolina. And I listened to New Kids on the Block, NKOTB.
You're admitting a lot of things today.
Here's the thing. I grew up in suburban America. And I bet there are a lot of people that can relate to that.
It came with the territory.
I know I missed things. Like you talk about music and I'm like, what? I'm still learning about music from the 90s from you.
I was really fortunate.
Still to this day.
I was really fortunate to have like a few really good friends who sought out a lot of independent, or not independent music only, but independently of any other kind of influence. They just wanted to know about music. And so they would seek it out. I would have to give a lot of credit to this. Well, it's still a radio station, but it's changed so many times that no one's probably going to really recognize it anymore. But there was a local radio station. There was a college radio station. Do you remember Laser 105?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Laser.
They had a Hillbilly Moon Stomp that came on Saturday nights, and they would play all kinds of good, just crazy good music. That was where I think I first heard Husker Du, which, if you don't know who Husker Du is, you should check it out. It's incredible.
They're Norwegian, right?
Yeah, and Bob Mould. So you get Bob Mould from Sugar, which is just.
Do you know the last time I had turquoise hair, I had a Mould T-shirt.
Bob Mould. He is an incredibly weird guy. He's still very angsty but calm, which is weird. He's always had a very calm angst.
I still don't really know much about anything that you're talking about.
Sorry,
I don't know anything about Bob Mould.
Sorry. I
don't know anything.
So, oh God, what was I talking about? I completely forgot.
Oh, well, here's what we wanted to talk about was our audio files, right?
Let me get into, hold on. I need to get into my Zen stream. Let me go
into the stream, honey.
My Zen stream.
Get into the stream.
Oh, yes.
Here we are.
I can feel
Get
the
into
energy.
that blue and pink. Get into that blue and pink. Get into the fiber optics.
Yes. Oh, the bubble gum of it
The
all.
fiber optics of it. Because, like, that's what I think is
It
so
does
funny is,
kinda
like,
look like it.
having the, like, Walkman for all the centuries. Like, I had the tape Walkman, right? You had the tape Walkman, and then you had the loopable tape Walkman, the auto reversible, and then you had the Discman. You know, that was high style, and you had to get the Sport because if you bounced at all, the CD would be weird. That was short-lived. Pretty sure. I don't know. What would you say? Give it 5-7 years?
That was
for the Discman.
Yeah, the hardest part, I think. Yeah, if you didn't have the Sport one, or you didn't have like a different off-brand that was like some kind of super fancy one that would like shock absorbing and all this other stuff. It just you were gonna. If you couldn't move it, you basically couldn't touch the Discman.
Right.
Do not stare directly at the Discman. And you'd be like, okay, let's just all sit quietly and let it happen. You know? And it was so tough. And then like I remember like fast forward when I first started getting my own stereo equipment, I remember I was desperate for a disc changer. I wanted to not have to put
a new disc in.
And I got a 6-disc changer.
In your car?
At my house, and I had 2 cartridges. So I had one 6-disc cartridge and another 6-disc cartridge. And I swear to you, I had the biggest dum-dum moment the night I got it on my birthday. Me and my mom sat down and tried to figure out how to play CD on it. Loaded up 6 CDs, couldn't get a single one of them to play. It just kept shifting through them. And I was losing my mind. Like, oh my God,
How did you work?
You know what it was?
They were upside down.
You had to turn them upside down.
Oh.
They were right side up. And I was like, what do I do? And I said, hold on. I'm going to flip them all over just to see what happens. Because maybe the laser is on top instead of on the bottom. Right. And as soon as I put it in there like that, boom, music. And in fact, the first song that played was a Bob Dylan song done by Jimi Hendrix.
Nice.
All Along the Watchtower.
All along the Watchtower.
On random. I'll have you know, that was
I loved that.
Good coincidence.
I always felt that way about my CD player. I had a 5-disc changer. I like had this choice job, right? Like we got to you and I actually bought that together.
Well, that was
I
cool
took you
because
to Best Buy.
You could take the CDs out while one was playing.
Yes.
So you could load 4 new ones in.
Yes, while you had one.
So you could kind of like load them in the order you wanted them to go.
Yeah,
that was a really cool one actually.
And what was really fun was I really loved loading that one up random with the 5 discs and getting
you had to.
Like such a great playlist. Like it is really hard for me to make a playlist now. I just want to say like
you haven't done one?
I haven't really made my own playlist. It gets complicated. Like I almost would rather just be like, oh, I guess I'll move this whole album over there.
I think that's
I'm
you have so much access to music that it's hard to narrow down. Like even genrealistically, like okay, I just want this style of music.
So many distractions. So many distractions.
I will say I think the reason I don't make a lot of playlists is because the ones that are usually out there. Or that are just, I like to just go to the stations that have like the new stuff of the certain genre that I like.
Yeah.
And I just
but we're fast forwarding. Wait a minute. We jumped like a whole like decade because none of that was there. We were still on Discman. We were talking about discs.
You know what happened?
We, at the turn of the century, I got a new Walkman for the new century.
Yes.
And it was this
Would you say you were a fan of that?
I was a big fan of that. Just like I'm a big fan of you, and don't you forget it. Yeah. Big fan of you. Big fan of you. And so I think it's great that I had the Sony Walkman of both centuries so far. So far. I totally take that from the Simpsons movie. I love that they do that. And I add it to I just sprinkle so far in because I think it's a great ending, you know? And
there's a lot of good Homerisms.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for a whole different show. We'll invite my friend Tori on to talk Simpsons. So yeah, it's so weird that like
I had a 12-disc change. Do you remember my 12-disc changer?
No.
I had a toilet changer in my car, and it was just
wow.
some of the best road tripping ever.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you could put 12 discs in there and just hit random.
Yeah, you could make it across the country practically.
So good.
12 hours basically. Each one is about 76 minutes or so.
I think we put a whole bunch of Pink Floyd in one day, just like all Pink Floyd.
The best.
And it just kept playing random incredible songs, and I was just like, okay.
What's frustrating? So I love Pink Floyd, and I have done so many road trips across the country with Pink Floyd. Sure. I had my 250 disc CD holder that had 50 CDs, the Bible, yeah. And like that was what I took. I became an over-the-road truck driver and just carried my pack of music into a truck and just drove around the country. And it was.
I feel like this is definitely an audio superhero now that I think about it.
Definitely. Audio, like special hearing. Like so like it's real weird to me that like music gets made and then it turns into these zeros and ones, just like
digital
feeling like they're floating around in space.
I always thought record players were unbelievable because of the fact that it's grooves and it's writing in the grooves, and like that is essentially they just cut, like when they actually talk about cutting an album, that's what it literally was doing, was cutting it into the record, and then that would make the master, and they would kind of copy it off of that. But
fascinating technology, really, when you think about it.
It's kind of incredible that they were able to come up with that conceptually. And then we take basically the same, like this microphone is essentially the same idea. They haven't really changed the idea of how a microphone works that much.
So when I drove around it, I had all the Pink Floyd albums, and I would just listen to them. And one thing I really wanted to do when I was driving around was make a radio station. I did it in college. I really
like pirate radio
station? Pump Up the Volume, of course. If you don't know it, find it. I'll share a link.
Love it.
It's amazing.
Spend time with it.
The best radio, Pump Up the Volume, Christian Slater in the 90s.
What a handsome man.
What a hero.
You're a handsome man, Christian Slater.
What a hero. He's the best.
He still looks like himself, which is crazy.
I don't know. I don't know what he does. But anyway, so I loved Pink Floyd, and I wanted to play Pink Floyd albums on the radio. And so I actually and not just Pink Floyd albums, but I really was like, why don't people just listen to albums? Like, why don't they just, because a lot of bands put this music together for a purpose, right? Hold on. Well, so interestingly enough, I don't know if you know, don't be a spoiler. Spoiler alert. Jeez. So anyway, I put my time in volunteering for our volunteer radio station, went through all this stuff. And then little did I know, putting all this volunteer work in, that when I go to do the show proposal, there is now a law that prevents me from playing albums in their entirety. Now, technically not on the radio. On the radio, I can play albums in their entirety. However, if that radio show is streamed on the internet, which, yes,
a lot of them
now, you cannot play more than 3 songs in a row by any group, and you can't play more than 4 off of a compilation. And that is because of the Digital Media Copyright Act, so the DMCA, which was passed in 2001, I think. I want to say.
It was a while back.
It was around the turn of the century to prevent pirating music and not paying for what you want. You got to pay for it. I
remember growing up in Colorado, there was a station called Kilo FM.
Kilo.
Yep. Kilo FM. And they would play.
They get so much cocaine.
They would play. So it was the cool. Cocaine. You could tell it was the cool radio station. Cool. Anyway, they would play album sides on Saturday for I think it was 4 or 5 hours of the morning. They would play album sides, And they couldn't play the whole album, but they would play like either the A or the B side of like a famous album. So you would get like the A side of like Electric Ladyland, or like the B side of Metaphysical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin or something, or Sticky Fingers by the Stones.
What's like some of the best? Let me ask you this: what's some of the best space age rock or spaced out rock?
Nothing.
Back to Kilo. I want you to finish about Kilo.
Oh no, that was pretty much. It was.
They played the album.
It was just incredible to hear it, and I think I learned a lot about music from hearing those albums, because you would hear like the hit, but you would hear the songs that surrounded the hit, and it would give you such a better texture of like what the album was and what it was supposed to be. Like the Who does not get enough justice from their radio hits, even though the Who is a great radio hit band. Their albums are really, really good, and they're very artistic and good and quality. And you should like Pete Townsend, even though he's a weirdo. But yeah.
Anyway, back to Space Truckin'.
I think Space Truckin' is obviously Deep Purple dedicated a good solid try at probably putting down.
Heart for you, Deep Purple.
I don't know how.
My heart goes deep.
If you have been into space as a space person, as an astronaut, how do you not play that song in space? I hope someone has played Space Truckin'. I don't know if they have.
Highway Star.
Star is excellent.
Highway Star and Space Truckin' are.
That's like.
Some of the best.
You know what? One of my favorite space songs, though?
Rock and roll. I have to say thank you to my sister for introducing me to Deep Purple.
Good job.
Thanks to my drunkle Steve. Everybody's got a drunk uncle. I think everybody's got a drunkle. I have. Deep Purple Machine Head on album, on vinyl, like the original one from the 70s. And I was really blessed to find his albums and see his love of music, even though I didn't get to share that with him necessarily while he was alive, unfortunately. I did some, but not as much as I realized I could and should have, would have, as you tend to do,
I definitely think there were a lot of, I don't know that there were a lot of albums that I didn't listen to, that my parents listened to.
Yeah.
But there were probably a ton that I don't remember that I really liked. I really do remember liking this band called Vanilla Fudge quite a bit. And it was a super weird psychedelic band. And I remember my mom would always be fascinated by like, why do you like this Vanilla Fudge so much? And I'd be like, I don't know. I just love the noises and stuff in it. I think it's so crazy. And I think it was just experimental and weird. And I was like, I really like that. Although I will say to this day, anytime I played music live with someone,
yes,
they've almost always remarked on the idea of like, you will just take chances like musically and you just play stuff. Like you're just super experimental and you just play stuff. And I think that's one of the things that I learned from that 60s, 70s sound is that you don't have to really have a plan, so to speak. And punk rock will definitely teach you that lesson. What? You can just play music because it sounds fun and it's good for you. Like you don't have to, it doesn't even have to make sense. You don't have to be good at it. Just pick up a musical instrument and play it. There's nothing more punk than that. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
We're into space right now. Honey.
Yeah, this is space. Sorry.
How about we see about, can you and I do some space trucking? Like an imagination of like, well, if you were going to go space trucking, what might space trucking feel like?
I think inevitably I would go too fast probably, and I would end up close to, a singularity. Or what can be otherwise known in the circles that I travel in. It's known as the black hole. Ominous.
Hey, honey, do you ever feel like you're falling into a black hole?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's heavy.
That's gravity can really weigh you down. That's true.
Oof.
That's some deep thoughts, everybody. We're really sorry about that.
Deep thoughts in a black hole.
But I want you to know that anytime you fall into a black hole and you're feeling down, and you're feeling compressed and depressed, sometimes you got to just
come out the other side.
Burst forward.
Woo!
light and sound and music, and yes,
that got deep. Yeah, we've come
deep as it gets.
Oh, yeah, as deep as it does get, right? That's why we love each other. We've come out on the flip side.
Yes, the flippity floppities.
Go blue or go home, I say.
There's at least a blue in there somewhere.
So now let's go to psychedelic land, right? Oh. So Psychedelic Furs was one of the first ones that that comes to mind. I really feel like Pink Floyd is the the beginning of electronica. I've always said
they are so experimental. It's almost hard not to give them credit for that. But you got to go with Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk is the first electronic band.
I get that.
I program my home computer, beam myself into the future.
Yes.
Fun on the Autobahn. Fun on the Autobahn.
I want to do that one day, please. Can we do that?
They are a fantastically weird band. Kraftwerk.
Yes,
I think they were making music recently too. I think they still
are out there.
Make music.
Yeah.
So
check them out. Kraftwerk with a K.
Yeah.
And an E.
It's German.
German Kraftwerk.
They wear a lot of black suits, and it's fun. Great.
Speaking of German, shout out to my German friends.
Hey.
Golf Club. Also, we'll link their YouTube. We've got Golf Club, who's a current German band.
I know Welcomen is welcome, I believe. And
welcome.
I don't know any other German.
I don't either.
Oh, I know Kartoffel is potato.
I don't either. 9. What about what other Trippin' Daisies?
Trippin' Daisies is a short-lived band, but if you really want to talk psychedelic weirdness, I think you're talking the Flaming Lips. The Flaming Lips were my first band I ever saw live.
Yeah.
And I saw the end of their show because we got there late.
I feel you on that.
And I saw the last 2 songs, which were 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. They were the longest songs ever. And they played crazy, weird feedback. And they had all this crazy, just super psychedelic craziness going on everywhere. Lasers and smoking.
Yeah.
It was a full-on Kiss style rock show inside a small venue in Kansas City. And it blew my mind. I thought I have to see more of this.
What is this?
These people are incredible, right?
I want it.
And they were followed up by Stone Temple Pilots.
Wow.
Which was to this day one of the greatest rock shows I've ever seen. That it sounded unbelievable. They were fantastic. And then the closing band was another psychedelic band. They aren't often thought of as a psychedelic band because they're very punk rock, but they do psychedelic crazy stuff and they do vocal stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Butthole Surfers.
Interesting.
Butthole Surfers are a great psychedelic band. They have a screen behind the drummer with crazy nonsense going on. Gilby Clarke does all kinds of vocal tricks and stuff. He'll be like, stuff like that. He's great at just weird stuff going on, and it's a good rock show. If you haven't ever heard of the Butthole Surfers, that's another great one to check out. Fantastic music.
Yeah, and I just want to take it back again to Pink Floyd because I feel like they don't get enough glory and honor.
You can talk Pink Floyd.
And if you're talking psychedelic Pink Floyd, there is
we
no
both saw
better.
That show, did we? At 95?
At 95,
yeah.
Arrowhead, yes. I talked through it. My friend had to shush me a lot.
Oh my
I didn't know.
Hey,
I didn't appreciate it yet. I was still young. Okay. I'm a late bloomer. Okay. I'm a late bloomer.
Is that why you feel like you have to talk about Pink Floyd now?
No, I just did find my love for them. And that was more of an introduction for me than it was a celebration like other people.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Show.
So it was. And so I have to say that the trippiest Pink Floyd song of all time is Ummagumma, the cave friends in the cave.
Oh, small pieces of furry creatures gathered together in a cave.
Gathering pics in a cave. And it is the weirdest, the trippiest song you have ever heard. Oh my God, it's amazing.
I always love, if you go back to the beginning.
That's what acid feels like, just so you know. If you were ever wondering what is acid like, listen to Pink Floyd, to the small furry animals, and that's what everyone will sound like in the room around you when you take acid.
I think probably my favorite early Pink Floyd song is probably Careful with the Axe, Eugene.
Yeah. That's a scary one.
Interstellar Overdrive is really, really
so
good.
Heart of the Sun.
Yeah, set
Heart of the Sun, the Heart of the Sun.
It's very Egyptian.
So good.
Yeah,
so good.
That's another. I think they probably made one of my favorite live albums for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Was Live at Pompeii. If you haven't heard Pink Floyd playing live at Pompeii, it's probably
Date night.
one of their best things. Yeah,
I've
there's a
never
video.
seen it.
There's actually a video.
Date night.
Yeah, we can watch it. It's really good.
Do you want to do that for Val's Day, or do you want to play D&D?
We could totally.
What do you want to do?
We could do both.
We could do both. Okay, well, I need people
total sensory
who know how to play D&D. If you know how to play D&D out there, get at me. Okay.
I don't want to have
somebody
to Master,
19
but
on Twitter.
I will if I have to.
But like, get at me because he always has to play the DM, and because I don't know how to do it.
I don't hate it, to be honest.
But like, I want to
fun.
make a game for him. So if
just
anybody
miss
wants to
playing.
help me with that and
so
play
wrong?
with us or something like that, I am open to suggestion.
Virtually,
yes, those two.
Virtually, obviously,
so
we can't social distance.
Okay, so
like
I don't want to jinx anybody. Okay, because love is love is love is love, and better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
Oh,
and
I feel the jinx.
I know. However, I think it's really important to acknowledge the singularity and that being single is valid as well, because self-love is the most important love.
Don't feel.
You have to have your own heart.
With someone.
You have to have your own
relationship
heart
with yourself.
Like, date yourself, or don't date yourself in the women don't want to talk about their age kind of date yourself, but like date yourself as in love being your own company. Carbon date yourself. But I have to tell you, before we totally say goodbye and see you on the flip side,
bing bing bong,
I just want to talk a little bit about my favorite breakup songs, just in case you don't make it through Valentine's Day with the one you love. There are two great songs that I really want to recommend. Ben Folds 5 with black t-shirt.
Oh, give me back my black t-shirt.
Give me back my black t-shirt.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're in the anger phase.
Keep my shirt.
If you need in the anger phase, you can use that one. The other one that is like an acceptance and denial all wrapped in a perfect tiny little bow.
Okay.
There is this very little known. I feel like I'm the only one in the whole world except for the people that made the album who know about it.
Okay.
It's called Jesus H. Christ and the Four Hornsmen of the Apocalypse.
If anybody out there knows that, bonus points.
If you are out there, please get at me.
I was going to say easy money on it.
There is
Breaking Up by the Violent Femmes is easily the greatest breakup song. Because it's tongue in cheek and it's still very good as a breakup song.
I didn't even get to the name of the song yet.
Yes.
That was just the band name.
That was the build-up.
And that was the band name.
Please give us the goods on that.
And so and then you can have the final words, because I'm sure I will yield to Violent Femmes any day. However, Jesus H. Christ and the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse sing this song, and it's called I Hope You're Happy. And it's the best breakup line I've ever had. So if you are single out there, or you've had a breakup, because most people have loved and lost, some still love, some don't love anymore. And I hope you love yourself no matter what. But the line is, I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy. Just not happier than me. I hope you're happy.
The ultimate
I hope you're happy.
Right,
just not happier than me.
Is that kind of like when you see your ex?
Yeah.
And
she totally goes through it.
You're doing better than
she's
they are.
She's so good. And like,
okay.
Oh no, I mean, like she's like, oh, I hear you had a blah blah blah, and like I hear you're moved on. I thought you didn't want kids, and like, just like kind of that kind of stuff. But like, I hope you're happy,
Yeah.
And
I haven't heard it, but
she's good.
Talking, if you're
good.
talking about, the one of the greatest bands ever.
Yes.
You're talking about the Violent Femmes.
I mean, I'll give it to you.
I think one of the greatest moments in my time as a human person seeing the Violent Femmes live.
Yeah. That is a bucket list. I have not.
I've seen them several times. It's so good every time.
So jealous.
Anyway,
So jealous.
they were at the Jag Music Festival, and it was outside in a crappy little field. Mm-hmm. It was very small. Like, I think there was maybe 50 people. Yeah. Nobody knew who the hell the Violent Femmes were.
Right, gotcha.
And so all these kids start throwing shit at the Violent Femmes. And they all stop playing. And dude is like, Gordon Daniels like, look, there's a bunch of people here that came here to see us, and we are the Violent Femmes, and we demand respect, and you will not throw shit at us. And, I'll walk right off the stage. Like, I don't give a shit, right? Like, he's just like, if you want to hear our music, you will shut the fuck up and stop throwing shit at us, right?
Shut the fuck up.
And they're all just like, instant, like, he just kills all those kids, like, and just slays them all down. And they all calm down. Everybody just starts enjoying the show. And the rest of the show, they played hit after hit after hit. They played all the songs you want to hear in the order you wanted to hear. It was like the greatest mixtape ever. Unbelievable. I'm
jealous. I haven't seen the Violent Femmes. I think
so good.
I really like seeing Primus in concert.
Primus,
like
I
Les Claypool puts on
Sausage.
A good show. But I think the best show is Beats Antique, partly because
you like them.
I just think they're written around a belly dancer, so they have a show. Like, it's a show.
It feels like a lot with the, I don't know though. It's not that I hate it. It just is not my cup of tea.
Can you just say yes and please? Can you play just for the people out there?
I'm sorry.
Let's not badmouth Beats Antique on our first video. Can you edit this out, please?
It's not you. It's me.
I really want you to edit this out because as Zoe would tell you, go big fan or go home.
You know what? I'm leaving it in because people have to know my true feelings. They have to know my true feelings.
And that's one thing to say about good, bad music. Nate and I kind of, if you can't tell, have disagreements about what is good and what is bad.
It's hard. It's so
just trying to remind them
objective.
that those are all subjective opinions, and it's all based on cultural context.
Hey, have your Beats Antique. It's just not for me, everybody. That's all. That's all I'm saying. It's not for me.
It might be for you. Check it out. And that's my favorite one. So if there's any music you want us to check out, like...
Yeah.
What Audiophiles?
I'd like to plug Tame
Have your heart
as well. If we're going to talk bands that we truly love that are kind of obscure.
that's, oh my gosh. There are so many.
Impala.
Devotchka. Have you ever heard Devotchka? They have a sousaphone. Okay. They have a sousaphone. They've got my heart.
I saw two guys play this crazy band one time, the two guys on stage, and they were playing all these weird instruments, and they played one of those, and it was a great moment.
I played that for 4 years. I played that in high school, and I always wanted one.
I think it's called a...
if anybody wants to send me a sousaphone, I'll take it.
Where you play with...
I blow hard.
Where you blow into it, and it's a keyboard.
I don't know what that's called.
I think it's called a melodica or something like that, but it's a really incredible thing. Anyway,
if
play
you
music, find weird things and play with them.
Share with us. Share your audio files with us. Talk to us about Audiophiles. And my favorite saying is... make like a library book and check it out. So tell us what you want us to check out, and we'll have more stories to share.
Yeah.
If you bear with us for more.
Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.